Matti Lykänä. Alright, Mikko from the Biohacking Center. Just came back from Los Angeles, back in Helsinki, and I thought I will start again back on these biohacking videos, daily ideas, tips to improve your life and to fulfill your full potential. And today I'll talk quickly about the Effortless Healing book by Dr. Joseph Mercola. I met him at the Longevity Now conference, and fascinating things he talked about. Basically the main ideas, I will give you a short summary of the main points that I got from it, but it was mainly going back to the basics. You know, a lot of people, we intuitively know and understand the importance of sunshine, which is vitamin D, and all the things we might not even know how important it is to actually get the vitamin D from sunshine. Of course we can supplement it with vitamin D supplements, but the idea that we've been using these sunblocks and all of this, that's one of the interesting things that we are now going back to, this idea of understanding that it's better to go without sunscreens and actually get the vitamin D directly from sun. So that's number one, one important thing I think I got. He started with the importance of pure water. Now we're starting to understand that there's all kind of chemicals, e-pills, toxins in the water supply, and so the importance of finding a pure water source. Dr. Mercola suggested a lot, because for Americans it might not be convenient to go to a spring to get the water. So he suggested a lot of good options to get a filtration system. But here in Finland, for example, I'm getting back committed to finding a spring and finding spring water directly from a spring. And the importance, we might not even know how important it is to drink pure water, but we're beginning to understand more and more how important it is to find a clean water source. So that's number two I got from it. Then a big idea that I've been also thinking about a lot is to learn to use fat as a fuel source. So not to actually rely so much on carbohydrates and sugars. I was also led to believe this idea that we should eat low fat and a lot of carbohydrates and some protein, especially for my bodybuilding and all of that. And now we're going back to this idea of realizing that we need to re-educate our body to learn to use fat as a fuel source. And not only that, Dr. Mercola takes a step further for what I've been doing actually the last 4 or 5 weeks, which is this idea of intermittent fasting. So fasting a big block of your daily hours and then eating on a shorter window. So basically what I'm doing is I'm almost eating in around of a window of 4 hours and then fasting the rest of the 20 hours during the day. So that's also what Dr. Mercola has been getting into, doing this type of intermittent fasting. So I also highly recommend looking into, and we have also interview with Aaro Helander, who is this strength and gymnastics and street body workout guy who has been able to do it. And then I also talked about Dr. Eamon Raw, which has an interesting perspective on this whole thing. So check out intermittent fasting if you're into really optimizing your health. Then what else he's talked about is what we are understanding more and more is this idea that the gut is our second brain, and how important it is to take care of our gut. So basically what that means is that the better our gut and digestive system works, the better also our brain works, because we are actually much more bacteria than anything else. So depending on the type of bacteria we have in the gut affects our thinking process and our mind. So what does that mean? It means that actually what your gut, what kind of bacteria you have in the gut affects what kind of thoughts you have. So for example, if you eat a lot of sugar, you have candida, you have a bad bacteria in the gut. It's those bacteria in a sense that is actually telling your mind, well, I want more sugar. So it begs the question, are you actually thinking that you want more sugar and carbohydrates? Or is it actually your bacteria that's telling you want? So that's an interesting thought. I'll leave you wonder and ponder, but this is a good book to give you basics on the idea of how important it is for you to get into making sure you have good probiotics. And Dr. Mercola gives us a lot of good tips on learning to ferment your own vegetables and what kind of fermented foods you should include in your diet to sort of flourish the good bacteria in your gut. Then fourth or fifth is fifth tip is this idea of having your brain rest. And the best way he explains to have the brain rest is through sleep. And I'm also taking this a lot further, is when I go float to do a floating session in a float tank and do a meditation in a float tank, I concretely personally feel that my brain gets a rest, and I feel as if when I got out of the session that my brain is actually recovered. And what Dr. Mercola goes into is this idea that we actually, our brain, when it goes to sleep, we are discovering more and more that it's actually when we are at sleep that our brain rests and recuperates and sort of cleans house and has the chance to sort of relax and then recover and organize things in the right order, organize information in the brain, get rid of the unnecessary information that we accumulate during our lives, so that when we wake up, the essential information is back in the brain, we are recovered from our daily stresses, and so we are renewed. So the importance of sleep is of course paramount. And my point of view is that of course we need to understand more and more how important it is to actually learn to get more and better quality sleep. Then the fifth and sixth step, Dr. Mercola goes on to this idea of how important it is to ground and earth yourself. So like this morning, for example, I went to walk in the morning as I woke up at 5 today, and then I went at 7, I went to float, and then 7:50 I think was around when the sun was rising here in Helsinki. I went to walk barefooted for 15-20 minutes on the grass, and we have a little park outside here from the center. And so I went and walked barefooted, and how important we are understanding is why it feels good to be taking sunlight and walk barefooted in the beach, for example. There is something to it, we get this negative charge from the earth and it balances us out, to put it in simple terms. And so he goes into this idea of making sure that you are every day spending some time in nature if possible, and getting grounded to the earth and understanding how that reduces inflammation in the body and all kind of benefits that it has. Then Dr. Mercola goes into this idea of avoiding some typical health foods that we think are good for us, like unfermented soya products and some sweeteners that we think, like agave syrup, which is just the fructose and not actually good for us. So he goes into some of the things that people often think are beneficial, like yogurt, which often, for example in US especially, have a lot of excess sugar and so forth. So those are basically the main ideas I got from it. And also he gave a really cool tip that I'm looking into soon, which is to understanding how these lights that we are living inside often has this blue light factor, so that when we are going to sleep at night, often we have a struggle to get sleep and have our melatonin produced in the body, because we are constantly in this artificial light. So one is to learn to actually dim the lights when you go to sleep, to use also some red lights. But also there's this program I talked about before, is f.lux, Lux.com, which you can download to your computer. But Dr. Mercola gave this other software, which is, if I remember right, Iris, I-R-I-S, Tech, Tech.co. And I haven't checked it out yet, but you check it out, I will check it out, we'll post a link to the comment section. So with that said, those were the big things. So drink pure water, burn fat as a fuel source, and condition your body to burn fat instead of carbohydrates and sugar. Then enjoy sunlight and get your vitamin D, or supplement it if necessary. Learn to take care of your gut health, and then understand how important good quality sleep is, and go barefooted to ground yourself. And those were the main points I got from it, but I recommend you to check it out. Great book, Effortless Healing, full of a lot of good tips and pointers to make sure you heal your body and to live a healthier life. So with that said, from the Biohacking Center, we will be starting to give daily tips for you. Hope you tune back and check more of our videos.